Hey, hi friends, this here is Trucker Bob, your expert on everything automotive. Today I'm going to teach you how to change the brake pads and rotors on your Toyota Sequoia. This will work for Toyotas between the years of about 2001 and 2006. Pretty simple process. You're going to need some tools though, so I'm going to put them up on the screen right now. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we need to take out the brake pads. And to do that, what you got to do is you got to take out two metal dowels that are holding those brake pads in. To get those metal dowels out, though, you have to undo some clippies, some little clippies that are holding them in. So we're going to pull those off first, and you'll see how easy it is to get those pads out.
Because I am so technologically advanced, I've now switched the camera to the inside of the car. You're now looking at the back side of the caliper because I wanted to show you the clippy that's on that bolt, that dowel that needs to be, oh, look at it, it just fell right out. I've been tugging on it a little bit, but it's a little clip that looks like this. I think you can see that. And it just holds that dowel on very simply. And once you pull that clippy off, you can push that dowel out and then grab it with some pliers and wiggle it on out until it comes out. See, it's very simple to do. There's another one of those clippers right here. You pull that out, and you pull the top dowel out too, and I'll catch you when you do that, okay?
All right, I took that second clip off at the top, and now I'm just going to wiggle that little dowel out. Come on, little dowel. Takes a little wiggling. It's been in there for a while, holding your brake pads in very faithfully. But see, it just pulls out right like that. Once you pull that out, you'll be able to take out the spring that was being held on. See, the little spring comes right out? When you put that spring back in, you're going to put it back in and slide the dowel, and the dowel is going to go through those like that, and it's going to hold the spring in place. And what does that spring do? Well, that spring holds in your brake pads. Now, you might think, hey, I can just pull these brake pads right out. And sometimes you can, but most of the time you can't. And that's because the caliper's been pushing on them real tight against the rotors. So you got to get in here a little bit with your needle nose pliers or your screwdriver, and you got to press a little bit against the brake pad and the caliper to compress that caliper a little bit more. And once you do that, just enough, it loosens your brake pads up a little bit so you can pull them right out. Now, mine, I didn't depress them quite enough, but they're coming out. Whoop, see? Just comes right out like that. Not a problem. Woo, these brake pads are slim. Somebody has some squeaking brakes, I bet. My wife, I bet you. Anyhow. Oh, then look at, I just pulled the other ones out just like that. Well, now that we done took the dowels out and pulled the pads out, the next thing we need to do is you need to unslide or slide off this little clippy thing that holds your brake line to your calipers, okay? Because you got a, unlike some cars, you got a flexible brake line here that connects to a rigid brake line here behind the caliper. And it's held stable to the car with this clipper here. So I'm just gonna put my needle nose pliers right up here. I'm gonna wiggle it back and forth. And look, that clipper comes right off like that. So to get the caliper off, there are two 17mm bolts on the bottom over here. It's hard to see, but anyway, they're on the back side of the caliper. I'll get you another picture of that.
Well, hi, here I am again. Now, I'm once again looking on the back side of the caliper because I want to show you something very important. You do not need to take off this bolt right here to get the caliper off. You need to take off this bolt underneath. It's the lower one, and there's another one right there. You see it? Don't mess with this bolt. Take off the two lower bolts on the back of the caliper. They're going to be used with you're going to take them off with your 17mm ratchet, okay?
All right, now I done took out the bolts behind the caliper, so the caliper is technically loose. But before I take it off, I'm going to slide my little, what do you call that, C-clamp in here, and I'm going to depress each of the four caliper pads right here, here, and here. I got to press them back with the C-clamp because my hands aren't strong enough. And so once I slide that C-clamp in there, I'm going to tighten it down, and I'm going to press those caliper pads all the way back in as far as they'll go to make room for the new thicker pad. Because see, your other pad was very slender and thin because it's been worn down by stopping your car safely. But now I just squeeze that thing. It's depressing all the way in. Very simple, just like that. And then I'm going to loosen it, take that C-clamp off, and I'm going to go to that next caliper pad. And I'm going to do all 4 of them. And by the time I get all 4 of them pressed in, as far as they'll go back, your new brake pads are going to slide right in, lickety split, and there's no problem with that. All right? So you do that, and then catch me up. I'll catch you up in just a second when I'm done with these 2. All righty, I've done pressed in my caliper pads. Now I'm going to lift up my caliper just like that. And look at this. My rotor is just going to come off with no problem. Look, no problem at all. It's just off place like that. I'm just going to slide that new caliper on. And then I'm going to slide the rotor on. And then I'm going to slide this caliper on and line it back up with those bolts on the back side, just like I did the first, just how I found it when I got it off. And it's gonna, there we go, it fits on just like that. It's no problem. And then the next thing I do is I'm going to tighten that caliper in by reinserting them 17mm bolts. Okay. Now the last thing you want to do after you put in your caliper bolts is you want to use your torque wrench to make sure they're good and tight. Now I use mine to 100 foot-pounds. Oh, hear that little click? That little click means I tightened it up good. I'm going to try it one more time. Oh, there we go. So I know that bolt's tight. I'm going to go up and I'm going to tighten the upper bolt to 100 foot-pounds too, because the last thing I want is for that. Oh, come on now. Oh, there we go. Let's try it one more time. There we go. 2 times means I'm safe at 100 foot-pounds. Those bolts aren't coming out. Well, the next thing I got to do is put that little clippy back on that holds the brake line. What I do is I just kind of set it on there and tap it down like that a little bit. Well, there we go. That's nice and snug. Now, one of the secrets to keeping your brake pads from squeaking is to get some of this brake lubricant and spread it all over the back. Some people think the brake squeaking comes because your brakes are worn out, and there is scraping that can take place when that happens, but oftentimes the squeakiness on brakes is simply due to vibration. That vibration is mitigated. Oh, now that's a big word. That vibration is mitigated or stopped, nullified, negated, whatever. Get your thesaurus out to change your brakes. When you put some of this brake lubricant on there, you spread it all around real good. Cover up the back of that shim. That's that metal piece on the back of your brakes called a shim. Your brake pads should come with them. I'm going to spread that on real good, and that is going to keep this thing from squealing and vibrating. There's nothing your wife hates more than hearing the kids whine, so why would you want to hear her brakes whine? You know what I'm talking about? So once I do that, then I just slide that brake in there, just like that. Watch that brake pad just goes right in like it was made for it, because it was made for it. And then I'm going to get my other brake pad, and I'm going to get some more of that little brake lubricant, tear it open, and I'm going to spread it out. You know, it's when I'm doing kind of mindless things like this that little bits of wisdom pop out of Trucker Bob. You know, sometimes just a little bit of grease makes that vibration stop, makes that squealing stop. Sometimes some kind words to your spouse, encouragement, things like that, that can make a whole lot of difference. They quit their whining. I don't mean whining, of course. I mean, they quit complaining or feeling bad. So maybe try a little verbal brake lubricant on your spouse or your family, your kids. They'll be all encouraged, feel good. Anyway, that's enough wisdom for the world. Now I'm going to slide that other brake pad right in there. Oh, come on now. I know you want to go in there. Why are you? There we go. Slide it right in there. Look, they just go so nicely when you put that brake grease on, lubricant on it. Now I'm going to take my little dowels, and my pads came with brand new dowels. Maybe your pads didn't. If not, just use your old pads. You can use your old spring, whatever. And I'm going to put my spring in there, get it inside there, and then I'm going to squeeze my, come on now. I'm going to make sure my my brake, my little dial gets it. There we go. Poked right through it. See that? I'm put the spring in, the spring in there like that. Then the other spring, other side of that spring goes in there. I got to pull the side of that brake pad up just a little bit so it matches the holes. There we go. Slide that dowel on in there all the way through. Now I just squeeze my spring in like that, and I put it on the inside of the brake pads, and it's going to hold those brake pads safe and sound and snug. Okay. Then I get those. Remember those two little clippy things I was telling you about that you pulled off the back side of your little dowels? Well, you're just going to put them in your needle nose pliers, and you just like that, and you're going to slide them around and poke them in there. And once they go in there, you make sure they're all nice and snug, and they're going to stay there. They're not going to move. That's how they're made. You know, you put things in the right place where they're made for, and they like to stay there. People are like that too sometimes. I'm going to get my other clip in there, and I'm going to slide it on in, poke it in there. Now look at that. What we just done did, we just done changed your brake pads and your rotors. Now all you got to do is put your tire on. Don't worry that your rotor's a little loose like that, because when you put your tire on and tighten it down with the lug nuts, it's going to press it up immovable on the hub here, and it ain't going nowhere. All right. Now one other thing to remember: now you changed your brake pads. When you get in your car, before you go to driving it, turn it on and pump your brake pads so that the calipers press up nice and snug against the brake pads. All right, because otherwise you're going to hit your brakes and your calipers aren't going to press up against them, and you're not going to stop. I had that happen one time. So always pump your brakes good and hard, maybe 5 or 6 times, to make sure those caliper pads are pressed up tight against the brake pads. All right, I think that's all there is to it. If I can help you, you just look me up, subscribe to my channel. I'll give you everything you need to know about your car. I'll tell you some things about life too. Have a good day. Hope I helped you.